morning, everyone, and welcome to another Alamo Together Remote Summit. I'm Christy Wyatt. I'm Associate Vice Chancellor for Communication and Engagement here at the Alamo Colleges District. And today we'll be updating you on a partnership that we have with the City of San Antonio for Train for Jobs SA. We'll also be talking a little bit about our workforce development programs. But this morning, you'll hear from our Chancellor, Dr. Mike Flores. You'll hear from our Board Chair, Dr. Jean Sprague, as well as Dr. Sammi Morrill, Debbie Middleton, who's a Senior Coordinator at the SAC Empowerment Center, and an employee partner, and most importantly, we'll hear directly from a student on how this impacts their lives. Now, towards the end of the summit, Dr. Flores will answer as many questions as time permits, along with our panelists. And I want to thank you again for being here. There's a reminder that there's a button along the bottom of your screen where you can put your questions for the chat. And now I'd like to welcome Dr. Jean Sprague, Alamo College's District Board Chair.
Good mornings and greetings on behalf of the Board of Trustees who are joining us this morning for our April Alamo Together Remote Summit. With us today, we have Vice Chair Dr. Yvonne Katz, our Board Secretary, Clint Kingsbury, our Assistant Secretary, Gloria Ray, Joe Alderetti Jr., Anna Bustamante, Dr. Lorraine Polito, Leslie Sahanovich, and Roberto Zarate. Also, our student trustee, Darius Martin. The Alamo Colleges has led the way as long as I have served on the board, which has been quite a while, in forming partnerships for workforce training that benefits the residents of our area, plus local employers and the area economy. We are the #1 provider of workforce training in the South Texas area, have a track record of excellence in providing training for many of the major employers in the San Antonio and Bexar County area. I'd like to also mention that over 2 years ago, we joined the Economic Development Foundation in San Antonio and meet monthly with the various workforce trainers in the city to coordinate the efforts of work training. Of course, we provide almost all of the workforce training in the Bexar County area. Today, we'll be talking about one of our most recent partnerships, the Train for Jobs SA program that we are participating in with the city of San Antonio. The fact that they chose Alamo Colleges for this program speaks to our reputation for getting the job done when it comes to training residents for high-paying wage jobs and high-demand jobs. The board is proud to be part of this important initiative, which is so critical to the impact of the pandemic on local workers, many of whom have found themselves unemployed and were working in low-income jobs. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank Mayor Ron Nirenberg and the city for choosing us to partner in this program, as well as Alamo College's faculty and staff who have worked to get this program on the road to success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sprague, and thank you to the board for their commitment to workforce development, their commitment to our mission of really empowering our diverse community for success through training and education. And now I would like to introduce our Chancellor, Dr. Mike Flores.
All right. The mechanics of the math. So thank you very much, Christy, for the introduction. I want to thank Dr. Sprague. As Dr. Sprague mentioned, this has been a commitment from the Board of Trustees, in particular with joining the Economic Development Foundation and then the subcommittee, which Dr. Sprague chaired over the last 2 years, and now Trustee Ray, where all of the workforce and training providers, most importantly, the city and the county, Alamo Workforce Solutions and Alamo Colleges come together to be able to facilitate. I think the most important thing for us at Alamo Colleges District is economic mobility. And related to that is our ability to provide programs that are short-term to all the way from several weeks to a certificate level 1, level 2, an associate's degree. But I would ask that not only do we provide that with the city of San Antonio, and now the Train for Jobs SA, and hopefully soon the Ready to Work, which is a sales tax provision that will provide assistance to adults within the city of San Antonio, but that also we provide a pathway to the middle class. And I think that's what's particularly important, that we provide a seamless experience to somebody who's coming onto our campus or one of our regional centers and is able to understand, and that we put it in terms that appear relatively easy so they can opt in to training and education. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to opt into education with just a few steps so that they can begin training and education on day one, that we provide all of the supports that they need, instructional materials, equipment, that relationship with the faculty member or trainer, the advisor and career navigator, so that they can see that the Alamo Colleges is their partner in economic and social mobility. So just want to thank each and every one of you for being here this morning. And several of us are live from St. Philip's College. And so I look forward to this morning engagement. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. And we have a whole team of people across the district who work to make this possible. But one of the most significant groups is our workforce, economic development and workforce group, led by Xavier Urrutia, right now, who's serving as interim. But one of his team members is Dr. Sammi Morrill. She has been instrumental in the work that we've done for Jobs for SA, her and her team. And so they're going to introduce us to a little preview of what this program is like, how it benefits our community, and what we offer across our entire district in terms of job training. Dr. Morrill.
Good morning, and thank you, Christy. Thank you, Dr. Flores, Dr. Sprague, and our Board of Trustees for the opportunity to present on our Train for Jobs SA program this morning. This really is a game-changing initiative for the communities we serve across San Antonio. Next slide. Its core focus is economic stability and recovery for those who were financially impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. That includes those individuals whose work hours may have been reduced, who may have lost a job, or who are unable to find employment. To emphasize that need, we have had more than 340,000 unique unemployment claims in the San Antonio MSA over the last year. To address these needs, our agreement with the city includes funding for outreach, intake, assessment, case management, workforce training, stipends, and job placement. The intake process includes verifying eligibility and assessing support needs and academic readiness. Eligibility is three-pronged. Number one, the client that we're serving must be a San Antonio resident and provide proof of residency. Number two, they must attest to being financially impacted by COVID-19. And lastly, they must be authorized to work in the United States and provide proof of that authorization to work in the US. There are three buckets of training underneath this program. The first is high school equivalency. The next is short-term training, which is defined as 12 weeks or less. And then long-term training, which is an improved program that is over 12 weeks. There's tuition and stipend caps per participant, which are determined by the type of training that the participant is in. And two performance measures to touch on here is that the city expects a completion rate of at least 75% of our students who start training must complete, and at least 50% must be placed into employment in the occupation area in which they've been trained. If you peel back the unemployment claims I just mentioned earlier, about 13% of those individuals who do not have a high school, 13% of those includes individuals who do not have a high school diploma or equivalency. For those who are employed, the data indicates a median income of just over $21,000. So when we think about creating a pathway to success or financial mobility, we have to think about the first step, which is earning a high school equivalency or HSE. Through our Train for Jobs SA initiative, San Antonio College is leading the high school equivalency component. And I had the distinct pleasure of working with Debbie Middleton, the senior coordinator for the San Antonio Empowerment Center, who manages this component for us end to end. Debbie, I'll hand it over to you now to outline your work.
Okay, thank you so much and good morning. I am thrilled to be able to highlight our program. I think we need to go to the next slide though. Our program is at SAC and we do currently run both evening and day classes, 16 weeks in duration, which on average is about 240 clock hours of instruction, currently via Zoom, but it's all provided in a lecture style format. That said, we do have assessments that we provide ahead of time to make sure that our incoming students are at a high school equivalency level. Specifically in reading, we require a 9th grade reading level in order to enroll in our program. Although SAC has had this program now for 11 years, we are wonderfully blessed to have the support of the Train for Jobs SA funding. So we've been able to provide a lot more supportive services to our students. So keeping in mind that our students are generally below the poverty line, and the following supportive services that I'm going to cover make a huge difference in ensuring their success. So first off, we provide all curriculum and school supplies. We don't require them to buy books or anything like that. We provide it all. And secondly, vouchers for practice tests, which do cost money, and the official test, both in together can be in upwards of $150 to $200 that a student would normally be paying out of pocket. That is provided. And, for somebody below the poverty line, $200, that's like, could be $1 million to them. So it's really a huge deal to have that benefit. And now, which is awesome, the cherry on top of the sundae, since October 2020, when we started with the Train for Jobs SA, they have provided us stipend money. This is an incredible benefit. Our students get paid $15 an hour for to attend class with us. So they get paid for every class hour that they are in session. This stipend can be up to $2,700 during the session that they're attending. This money has allowed our non-traditional students who, let's face it, generally are juggling work, family, and school now. It takes a little of the edge off so that they can focus on their studies. So it's a huge deal. Now I want to move on to the next section. But before I do so, I have to give a shout out to my awesome team. I affectionately call them the dream team or staff at SAC. Because of their hard work, since October, it's only been 6 months, we have actually served twice as many students as we did all of last year, or actually any year prior. We've really stepped it up. The funding has really been a blessing to our community because more students are able to participate. So ultimately, we anticipate serving well over 300 HSC students before this grant cycle ends in September. That's almost 3 times what we've done in the past. It's amazing. Okay, so I want to talk about what the options are, the next steps for our completers. Our completers do have several, oh no, we're still back at that other one, sorry. They have several matriculation options once they've earned their HSC diploma. These students get a taste of academic success, and for some of them, it is their first taste of success in education. So they're on fire. They're on fire for education. So most of our students, or a good majority of them, opt to go directly into college from our HSC program and achieve degrees or educational opportunities that they never thought were possible. Some also choose to go into vocational training and continuing education because they just want better skills to be a better skilled worker. And then the third area, some of our students they absolutely need to get a job. And with having the HSC diploma, that opens up so many more job opportunities because that's the minimum requirement for many jobs. So it's really cool. But I want to take a moment to speak to the people that work with our completers. In 2014, the GED test was completely overhauled. In the past, a student could pass it if they were about at the 10th grade level. Well, that has changed. Since 2014, this test is extremely challenging and subject matter goes all the way to the 12th grade. So it's truly become a college preparation test. That's great news for all of the education programs to recruit our students. But for employers, I want to speak to employers. don't overlook a GED grad when you're comparing GED to a traditional high school student. The GED grad has just proven not only that they are smart, but also extremely dedicated and hardworking, as it took that to achieve this. I mean, there's no doubt that they worked really hard to achieve this goal. So who wouldn't want an employee like that? I speak from experience. I've hired many of our graduates. We actually have several of our GED program grads that work for SAC right now and are excellent employees. So to wrap this up, I am extremely proud of our program and appreciate the time to highlight, and especially to highlight our wonderful and amazing students. So I thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Debbie, and great work to you and your team. All right, next slide. In terms of our other two buckets of training offerings, the city has approved both continuing education and academic programs. Under continuing ed, or CE, there are 37 different high demand programs which align to top occupations in Texas. These are offered in a variety of modalities and include technology support for the students. For these programs, our Train for Jobs SA budget fully funds the tuition and fees and the vouchers for industry recognized certification exams. Also noted on the slide are those programs, or if you go to the next slide, just I think we have a breakout, yeah. Also noted at the end of this slide, you'll see those CE programs which we mapped from CE to academic pathways for our future SA Ready to Work program. Okay, next slide. The approved academic programs include all those which are currently on the Texas Workforce Commission's eligible training provider list, which means they have already been vetted as aligning with top occupations in our region. We have the full list of these programs in the backup slides. A key point here, last fall, we worked with student success and academic success and IT reporting to pull reports identifying potentially eligible students in these programs. So we were looking at students who could complete by the end of September, those that we could see lived in San Antonio and were on good academic standing. The colleges scrubbed the list because we were looking for those right in that framework. And then we've been targeted marketing these students over the last few months to invite them to apply. I'll be reaching back out to the district offices and to the colleges this month to see how we can better scale our number of academic students in the Train for Jobs SA, because it really is a way for us not only to meet the needs of our community members, but also as a retention strategy for our colleges. Okay, next slide. All right, this is our last slide, which gives you a glimpse of our website, which thank you very much, Christy, and to your team for updating it recently. You can visit, this one is on the left, you can visit our website by simply typing in SA Recovery in the search bar of the main Alamo page. It will go over the eligibility requirements, a little information about the overall program, and it also lists all of our continuing education programs that will be offered in the schedule. So when they start, when they end, what time of day they run, etc. The picture to your right is a picture of our case management system that we recently onboarded through this initiative, and this is an integrated case management system that helps us streamline intake, eligibility, case management, grant compliance, and reporting. This is also our application portal. So students who are eligible, who believe they're eligible, can apply directly off of our website by clicking an Apply Now button, and it will take it through the system. So before we get to the questions, I just want to emphasize what a great initiative this is in partnership with the city and across the district in meeting the needs of our community through this pandemic, and to really emphasize social and economic mobility for those that we serve. So I'll stop there, and so we'll have time to open up for questions.
So before we get to questions, I really want to go and explore what this is doing for people individually. And so as a concept, and as a program for our colleges, we can see the full impact across our community, but there's nothing like hearing a personal story from a student who's actually been impacted by one of these programs. So I'd like to introduce a video from Miss Ileana Munoz, who is a student in our program.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to be here. My name is Destinee Martinez. I recently completed the Patient Care Tech Apprenticeship at Alamo Colleges. I spent the last 8 years working as a hairstylist at Walmart, but my income took a huge hit during the pandemic. I've always loved working with people, but I knew I needed to find a new opportunity with more reliable income. I was excited when I found out about the new PCA apprenticeship program because I could begin a career that really impacts people's lives. The fact that the program was paid for and I even got paid while attending was critical as a single mom. I couldn't have done it without financial support. When I started back in February, I didn't realize how many doors this would open for me. This was my first time seeing a hospital through the lens of career opportunities, and I was shocked to see how many different jobs and specialties they are. I got to see it all. I was exposed to all different hospital units, and I even earned my phlebotomy credential, which opened up even more career opportunities for me. The program really inspired me to keep pushing myself and learning. Now that I've completed and I am working in the hospital, it is up to me to continue my momentum. My plan is to work as a PCA for a year or so, use this time to observe different health professions and decide what I want to go back to school for. This was the first cohort of the PCA apprenticeship, and I'm just so thankful to everyone who even thought to make this an opportunity. The staff and instructors really empowered me to achieve more. It wasn't an easy program, but the pieces did fall into place. The experience made me confident that I was doing the right thing and choosing to change my career. The program can change people's lives in just a few short weeks, and it has impacted my life so much further beyond that. I now have the confidence that I have what it takes, and that when I'm ready to go back and continue my education, I know Alamo Colleges is here to help me get there. Thank you.
Wow, what a powerful story of being able to really change your life through a program and reach your goals, and now be empowered to help us during this pandemic as a frontline worker, a healthcare worker. So it's always powerful to hear those stories from students. But now I would like to introduce another video. This one is from our partner, our city partner. This could not be possible without the city. And so now for a few words, I'd like to welcome Ms. Tina Reck-Guerra from the city of San Antonio.
My name is Tina Reck-Guerra. I work for the city of San Antonio to help support our workforce development programs. In June 2020, City Council approved the COVID-19 Recovery and Resiliency Plan as an immediate short-term approach to rebuild the San Antonio economy. The recovery plan focuses on displaced workers, persons living in poverty, veterans, persons with disabilities, former incarcerated persons, and persons with experiencing homelessness. Train for Jobs San Antonio is a workforce program that started in the fall of 2020 as a response to the recovery plan and will complete in September 30th, 2021. The City of San Antonio has partnered with the Alamo Colleges District and with other workforce agencies to offer free workforce training and education to San Antonio residents who have been negatively affected by the COVID-19 impact in the hardest hit industries of hospitality, food service, and retail. The city works with the Alamo Colleges District to provide free tuition, a living wage stipend, and wraparound services to each individual who qualifies for the Train for Jobs program. Alamo Colleges also collaborates with other workforce agencies to provide training, apprenticeships, and on-the-job training to residents in need. A key component of the Train for Jobs program involves enrolling residents in industry-recognized certificate programs. Employers demand such certifications in high-demand industries like healthcare, manufacturing, technology, and construction and trades. Alamo Colleges currently has students enrolled in classes under Train for Jobs related to the following careers: human resource management, medical coding and billing, network support specialist, IT customer support, security support specialist, and child development associates. While they are taking courses, students earn $15 per hour to help with day-to-day expenses. The program also provides financial support for things like daycare, books, and technology to help people succeed and complete training. In addition to career-specific education and training, participants are learning other skills needed to be successful in their new careers. These skills include resume writing, interviewing, financial literacy, critical thinking, time management, and problem solving. Both residents and employers will benefit from Train for Jobs San Antonio. The city and other employers will be able to hire participants that are trained on the latest skills, that possess industry-recognized certificates, and that do not have the common barriers that may be found with non-Train for Job applicants. Alamo Colleges plays a crucial role in ensuring that these San Antonio residents are well prepared to re-enter the workforce in jobs that are secure and will lead to better paying career opportunities for them now and in the future.
And thank you to Ms. Tina Reck-Guerra for those comments from the city and our partnership. Now I'd like to invite back Dr. Flores and Dr. Morrill to answer any questions we may have about this program, how we can be of help as partners across the district, and how it's serving our community.
Thank you, Christy.
Okay, so right now we don't have any questions, but I know that one of the things that I have heard about is how is this really going to help bolster our economy, specifically in this time of COVID when many people are displaced. Lots of people have been relying on assistance that has been provided through stimulus and unemployment that is going to run out. So how are we moving the needle in helping our local economy through this partnership?
You know, I would say one of the things we were actually here about 2 years ago and released the economic impact study that Alamo College's graduates have. And so in looking at that, a degree from any of our 5 colleges results in an increase in earnings of close to $9,500 a year and about $450,000 over their lifetime. That's one individual. So that's one student that we serve that has that credential. And so you think of all of those of being able to go from struggle to success, being able to save for a down payment on a house, having dependable transportation, doing all the things that are so important to the lives of a family. And I would go back to Miss Martinez, right? So Destinee talked about just the difference that it has made for her moving from her previous occupation to now being a patient care technician apprentice. And the other part is that close to half of individuals that are in an internship, apprenticeship, get hired on by that particular firm. And the other is that most available jobs aren't even posted. So for her to already be in the door working somewhere with a credential coming in the next few weeks to months, I think is really important.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. And I know that she's in the healthcare industry, but for Dr. Morrill, what has been the most in-demand industry you've seen for these programs? What area have people been choosing to further explore?
So we have a lot in our entry-level IT. So CompTIA, fundamentals, and A+. We also have quite a few that have chosen professional truck driving, CDL, which is always a high demand, high dollar, high wage job. And then also bookkeeping and accounting clerk has been a high demand field for us too, coming in the door.
And I have a question about how did this partnership come about? So I know that we are the #1 provider of workforce training in the region. So was it just by nature of the work that we do that we were able to partner with the city on this program?
You know, I think that's one. I think as Dr. Sprague mentioned that he and our trustees have articulated, right, what the vision is to ensure that we provide an opportunity for our students. I think the other is that the city faced with COVID and looking at the shutdown of many businesses, short-term and long-term, realized that there was a need to retrain, in particular, workers for high demand, high wage fields so that we could gradually begin to shift from traditional reliance perhaps on hospitality to looking at, as Dr. Morrill mentioned, right, looking at IT, as Ms. Martinez mentioned, looking at healthcare, those fields that are always going to be in demand, and the other that are going to be COVID resilient. And so I think that those are the critical components. I do want to thank our partners at the city because the leadership that Mayor Nurnberg and Judge Wolf articulated, this is the biggest, largest investment in workforce development that any city in the United States is making. And also, we are one of the biggest players in this work. So I think that is what is particularly critical. Keep that in mind, the biggest workforce investment in the United States, and Alamo Colleges within that is the biggest player. So I hats off to our colleagues, to Xavier Urrutia, to Dr. Morrill, to Linda Davis, and all of our colleagues at all of the colleges, because as Dr. Morrill illustrated, the demand and the need and the provision of training is occurring at St. Philip's, where we are today, and at all of the colleges and the training centers throughout our area.
So we've seen a lot of success stories. In fact, News 4 has highlighted several of our students who have been through the program, been able to obtain employment, but there is another path, right? So some of our students are here to get training to get a job, but some of them are also looking to further their education. So this may be the first step. So Dr. Morrill and Dr. Flores, how are we working to ensure that these folks don't necessarily have a hard stop, but they may be able to transition into our academic programs?
Sure, I can start. I mean, Debbie gave a great example too about high school equivalency completers and how we do hard referrals, right? So it's about having a hard referral for that student to go into the academic side. And even for those who don't complete all of their high school components, they can go to ability to benefit, right, within that institution. The other piece that's key that really the continuing education department is leading is that effort that will come in with SA Ready to Work, right? Mapping the continuing education programs to an academic program so that will be a seamless transition for the students that come through. And the other component why I was talking about the case management system is that in the past, those referrals may have been a call, right? So they're going to call the college, I've got a referral for you. What we're trying to do with the new technology infrastructure is that is considered a hard referral. Someone picks that person up and we can see that transition, right? How many days they're taking to get a hold of them. And then really it's about us informing our students about where these continuing education and industry recognized certifications can take them. Destinee talked about that too, right? She hadn't even seen all the occupations in a hospital until she got there. And that's really about us educating about the different occupations that are available to our students. And if you start here, then where can you go? Right. So mapping from MA or mapping from a patient care all the way up to our RN program, right? That's the future state of how we'll look at how we map a pathway to students through these programs.
I know that from the city perspective, this is an equity program, and we talked a lot about equity in the time of COVID. And so I know that it provides equity to our communities, but some of the questions coming in are about our special populations of students. And so how do we work with our students who are differently abled or our students who are veteran students to ensure that they have access and success in these programs as well?
I can take that one too, Dr. Flores. We coordinate with those offices already at the district. So it's about, and I should have mentioned that earlier too, this work is about integrating the work that we do already, right? So we didn't want to have a standalone program, but we wanted it to be integrated in the work we already do. So the city also has disability and vocational programs too that we coordinate with those areas whenever we're doing that barrier check, right, on the front end of the assessment when the client comes in. So it's not a standalone, it's about integrating with the services that we already have.
Okay, thank you. I think that's very helpful to some of the questions. Dr. Flores, did you have something to add on that? I just saw you unmute.
Sorry.
Okay. Other question. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to get a little bit more light here. So one of the things I was going to mention is when you think about it, there was a question about how many students is this going to serve, right? So our target for this program right now is 3,000, Sammi, 2,900.
I was going to say total is 2,027 now with the new amendment.
Okay, so over 2,000 students. That is, you mentioned equity. That's important because what we're looking at is how do we provide upward mobility for individuals who have perhaps been challenged in previous occupations and allow them to go into these high demand, high wage fields. The other is that is on top of the 65,000 students that we serve. That is distinct from and on top of Alamo Promise. One of the equity, I think, proof points for Alamo Promise is, although our overall freshman class may have declined slightly, we saw year on year an increase of 17% in enrollments from the 25 Alamo Promise high schools. And those are high schools that have had less than half of their students enroll in any college or university. So I think that all of these efforts together show the power of everybody here, all 500 folks on the screen and our colleagues, in providing upward mobility to all of our students. And so I think this allows us in Train for Jobs SA, with the over 2,000 potential participants, to then be ready for work SA, right, which is the sales tax funded initiative, which starts in September 1, which is going to be an investment of about $35 million a year to train up to 10,000 individuals a year for 4.5 years. So you're looking at over 40,000 folks. Once again, Alamo Colleges has to apply, but our intent is that we would be one of those training providers and provide opportunity to adults. And you can hear from Ms. Middleton right at the Empowerment Center, the value of the high school equivalency and what that provides. And also from Ms. Martinez as a budding patient care technician, right, an apprentice, the value of this work and how critical this is to the future of our city.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. I think that gives us some real perspective on how this fits into the city's plan, but also to our plan for equity at Alamo Colleges. A couple of other questions that folks have are really around the process. So in the very beginning, how are students assessed to make sure that they have an understanding of all of the career paths available to them? And then upon completion, how do we ensure that they are aligned with the job and are job ready and actually obtain employment if that's their end goal?
Sure. So on the front end, when we do intake and eligibility, so once we confirm eligibility, and I would be remiss, and I probably need to pause right here to say, at each of our centers, the centers are leading this effort, right? So each of the center staffs, the advisors, the case managers, and that goes back to us talking about integrating the work and not having this as a standalone, right? So they're doing that intake virtually and then sometimes face-to-face on location. And when they do the intake, we're number one, checking eligibility. After they're eligible, for all of those individuals who have not had previous college experience, we do an academic assessment called CASAS, which is an adult education and literacy program that most economic and workforce players in the ecosystem utilize, right? It gives us an academic assessment. From there, our case managers and advisors talk with them about their score on the CASAS and which of the programs their range really lands within. We also utilize Career Coach and we utilize Career One Stop. So Career One Stop gives you by occupation information for someone who may be interested in it. It gives you videos of that with industry recognized certification, gives you wage information for our area. So we use that as a tool to give them more information about the decision of which program they're going to take, and then we enroll them in that program. And we're case managing, following the attendance. So one thing that the stipend does for us, remember they're earning $15 an hour for every hour they are in training. This allows us to catch when they're not going to training. So if we see that they're not going to training, we can have that nudge and we can have the communication with the student to understand what's happening, right? And then once they complete, and we're just now at that point in this pipeline of training that we're having these completers, right? Because most of our programs have been over 12 weeks. We are starting our career services, in some cases integrating with career services on the college campuses, right? The career services are already available there. In other cases, we've held webinar sessions with industry partners too, to come on to talk to them about, like, for instance, IT career field pathways, getting them ready for their certifications. We reopened our Pearson VUE certification at our Workforce Center of Excellence so that those students don't have to go somewhere to use their voucher to sit for their industry recognized cert. They're with us, right? So they come and they take their certification with us so we know whether they're successful. And then we've been coordinating with the Workforce Board and other partners in this program of all the virtual job fairs. So there have been a lot of virtual job fairs over the last year, and we push that information out and have them go. And then lastly, in the next 30 days, 30 to 45 days, we will be rolling out career management badge that we partner with Alamo online for. And that's about building the skills, right, for resume writing, interviewing, talking about their wage, all of those pieces that will get them ready to go to get a job. So that's a little bit of the pieces.
Dr. Morrill, you talked about how this is integrated into our current systems, but you also talked about some real benefits of how you've been able to partner with different departments, the colleges, to really enhance what we're doing. So do you see any real benefits or lessons learned in this partnership? And then to Dr. Flores, what are some other expectations that you have from us as an organization to learn from this process to be able to provide more cohesive work and integration of services?
So I tell you, lessons learned for me is communicate, right? For the colleges and the partners at each one to really get them aware of the program. And then also, if no one has worked with a grant before, understanding grant compliance and reporting, right? And the eligibility check. So that's why I touched on earlier about the academic programs. We don't have enough students enrolled under Train for Jobs SA under the academic programs. And yet we have so many students that are already enrolled, right? And if they're nearing completion and they're eligible, why not have them come into Train for Jobs? So we'll need to really strengthen our communication. And that is a takeaway for me with the colleges over the next month, to find those students that are in our programs already that will be eligible and would benefit from this program. And that's what I take away, right? That we can continue to build. The other piece for us that we're learning in economic and workforce development is when you think about stacking someone's education and training, right? We all talk about that. But in reality, we have to stack the funding too. We have a lot of funding, and we have to be smart and efficient about funding and the eligibility of that funding. When they start at this level and being able to identify all the grant programs that they're available for, right? So that they're not tapping into their financial aid yet. So, because that goes away, right? So if they're grant funded, how do I stack the grant funding as I'm stacking the education and training as I go through? And that's another reason why we've gone to a system too, that we can identify from intake all the eligible funding programs for them as well.
I think that's a good point. So I would say, Christy, that what we should be able to do is to have a conversation with a prospective student and to be able to talk to them about their dreams and what they'd like to do. And then as part of that conversation, we should talk about the different programs, how long perhaps it would take to be a patient care technician, how many weeks is that, or months? What is the pathway for that, right? So if you'd like to just do that right now, because I need to get employment, I need to support my family, I need to be able to pay the rent, that's great. And did you know when you're ready to come back to us, then you're on path to get a certificate. And this is what that looks like. And then when you're ready to come back for the next stage, you can get your associate's degree. And so I think if we can provide that to our students, the pathway, we talk about a pathway, but it's really a pathway not only to a degree, but it's a pathway to the middle class. And I think that's important. And then the other part would be, now let's talk about the ways that you can opt in and that we will help you pay for your education that are no cost to low cost. We will help provide instructional materials. Did you know that you actually will get a device? Your instructional materials are delivered. We'll support you with instructional equipment that you're going to need, tools and other things. I think all of those would be helpful, and that in back of the house, right, we know all the complexity. We know that it's different funding sources, but I don't think that that's something that we need to take them through kind of piece by piece. I think we need to make it much more conversational in what we do with students, and we can leave the other stuff in back of the house to us, because although we know the jargon, at times it may overcomplicate matters. And so I think that is a lesson learned for me, and I think definitely for all of us. And there's exciting things to come as part of the process. I think Train for Jobs was a fantastic kind of preseason for for the main season that's going to start, really in the summer to get students ready to go in late August.
Thank you, Dr. Flores, and thank you, Dr. Morrill. My team and I have been working hand in hand with you on Train for Jobs for months. And I think this conversation has opened eyes. I'm seeing text messages come into my phone and messages coming in with people really saying, okay, I've got it now. And I understand my part, and I understand how we can propel our students forward working through this program. So thank you for the enlightenment. I know there are a lot of questions about how can I share this with students and where do I connect, and is there a phone number? After this session, we, as always, will send out an email that has a link to the presentations. You'll also have a link on how you can connect students to the information. So that'll be coming out later this afternoon. And so I want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you to Dr. Flores, Dr. Sprague. Thank you to Sammi and Deborah and all of those folks who made this possible today. And we hope that you'll be an ambassador for Train for Jobs after this session. Have a great day.